Tomorrow, to the very date, I'll be celebrating my 5th anniversary of being here in Cwmbran as parish priest. You poor, poor, poor people. And I know what you're thinking. Where has that time gone? I know somebody said the other day that it feels like I've been here 50 years rather than 5 years. I remember being in the car park at Our Lady's, stood socially distanced away from Canon John for a picture, because you know I do like a picture, before Canon John went off in the car, not quite into the sunset, but to Cardiff at least. Over the years, it's been an immense privilege and a blessing to walk alongside you through the various terrains of life. I've been able to baptize a very large number of children, and Mike, old boy Mike, who serves on the weekday, has a nickname for me, and that's Dan the Baptist. So if you stand still long enough, I might have a go again. I can baptize you if you want. And to be able to baptize your children and your grandchildren is such an immense privilege, and something which I do thank God for. From their presentation at the font as babies, these children are now beginning to grow up. And it's been a delight to be able to welcome many of them back here to the altar to celebrate their first Holy Communion. I was watching some young children play there in that crying room, as you know, affectionately named the mosh pit, the other week. And I was looking and I was thinking about how a small baby that I'd once baptized has now found their feet. And much more than that, is now able to play confidently in there with their siblings and with their friends. It's such a milestone, isn't it, for a parent when their child takes those first tentative steps. Do you remember that moment? How that nervous wobble of the baby slowly becomes great strides of confidence. The parents don't interfere with the process of learning to walk, but simply look on at the moment, always close by, always at the baby's side, ever ready to hold out a finger or a hand, just enough to give that child the support that they need in order to be able to take those steps for themselves. We hear in that second reading today those words of St. Paul, "The Lord stood by me and strengthened me." Don't these words from St. Paul invoke that image of the parent standing near their child as they take their first steps? It opens our eyes and offers us a profound insight into Christ's closeness to us. That Christ doesn't stand back at some distance away from us, but rather stands by us, closely with us. Like the parent, Christ is intimately involved. And what is more, Christ's presence, his closeness to us, then becomes our strength, just as it was for St. Paul, as it was for him when the rest of mankind abandoned him. It's Christ's closeness to us which enables us to be able to fulfill our vocations, to fulfill the mission which has been entrusted to us, given to us at that font all of those years ago. What I find fascinating about the parents' endeavours to teach their children to walk is that parents don't remove all the obstacles. The child learns to navigate around the coffee table, the sofa, the dining table, the telly, the cat. And the little bumps and knocks become part of that process of learning and growing. Paul's own experiences, his trials, his challenges, and his persecutions themselves become the vehicles through which he is able to proclaim the gospel. I was reading yesterday, and one of the commentators puts it this way. He says, Paul's trials become another pulpit from which he could witness to Christ before the nations. So when St. Paul says that the Lord stood by and he was strengthened by it, this was not for himself. This wasn't an ego trip. This wasn't something for his own comfort. But rather the strengthening enabled that apostolic thrust to take place. This becomes significant for us then too, as we find ourselves being strengthened by the Lord. Our stuff is a technical term, our stuff, what we have been through, the baggage that we carry, the mistakes that we have made, also become another pulpit through which we are able to witness to Christ before the world. There can be that small niggle at the back of our minds, can't it, that raises its head sometimes, which says that God couldn't possibly need me to do anything, or that perhaps I've made too many mistakes to be any sort of credible witness. These are not true, because none of us are blank slates. We carry with us our story, and the Lord wastes nothing of our own story. He is able to take every part of our lives and by his grace make it a means through which the gospel is able to be proclaimed. Doesn't this become alive in today's celebration of Saints Peter and Paul? While we celebrate their entry into heavenly glory, they also knew what it was like to carry their failures. They knew what it was like to experience in a very real and a very personal way what it was like for the Lord to stand by them and strengthen them, for the Lord to reach out that hand for support, that finger. It's that encounter, that personal encounter, which transformed them. And that personal encounter, in their strengthening, they were then able to give their lives completely to him. Doesn't this resonate deeply within us? Through the intercession of these great pillars of our faith, let us too pray for the Lord's strengthening, that our lives may become pulpits through which we are able to witness to the risen Christ. Amen.